A big welcome to everybody. I'm Sarah Mears. I'm the Programme Director for Libraries Connected. I'm also a 500 word judge. I've been a judge for quite a while now and I love it, I must admit. I think it's a great way of connecting with children and understanding what their interests are and just understanding what they're thinking, really. So I find it a real pleasure to be a judge. I'm here with my colleagues, so Debbie Olorinshaw from Libraries Connected, who's doing all the technical stuff, Lucy Banks from ASCL, and we have two speakers, Erin Hamilton from Suffolk Libraries and also Sharon Kobali, who is from the Co-op Academy in Stoke-on-Trent, so she's a school librarian. So welcome to everyone. And also our main speaker is Usman Mulan from the BBC, who's going to introduce us to the 500 words competition for this year. And just to say, if you could keep your mics off during the presentations, but please do put any questions or any reflections at all in the chat. Lucy will be picking them up at the end of the webinar. So without further ado, I should also say we are going to record this webinar, so we'll be sharing it more widely afterwards. But I'll hand you over to Usman now, who will take you through the 500 words competition.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us today and taking time out of your day. I'm just going to share a presentation with you all, which kind of just gives a bit more information about the competition, and we'll hopefully answer some of the questions that you have as well. So bear with me. I'm hoping everyone can see that okay. Yeah, I'm the producer on 500 words this year, and just to in this presentation I'm just going to kick off with a quick promo video. So this was the video that went out on the one show to kind of launch the competition at the end of June. So I'm just going to quickly play that for you. Right, so hopefully that's kind of given you a bit of a flavour of what 500 words is and some of the brilliant prizes that are on offer as well. It's the UK's kind of biggest story writing competition, and it's for children aged 5 to 11. It's open to children of all abilities and background. And all we ask is that they write a story that you would love to read. So spelling, punctuation, and grammar are not marked. And that's, always been our ethos, just to make the competition feel as accessible as possible. So it's all about imagination and creativity. And we feel that it kind of really fosters that love for reading and writing. And as part of the submission process, the stories do need to be submitted by an adult. So that can be a teacher, a parent or guardian, a librarian, a sports club leader, or a community group leader. And the stories are judged on a few criteria, which are characterization, plot, originality, language, and enjoyment. And also, just to mention that the stories should be 500 words, but it can be less than 500 words. So it's 500 words or less. And they must be written by an individual and not a group. It must be the child's own original idea. So it must be prose. We don't accept rap or poems. And the stories must not give any kind of personal details of the child, including their name. They shouldn't recount a historical event, but they can actually use real people or historical characters as a source of inspiration. But we want it to feel like an original story. And they shouldn't be created or written or developed using AI, which is a kind of a complete minefield in itself of how we get around that. But yeah, that's part of the criteria. So why is 500 words important? So we did a report, an evaluation report after the competition last year. And some of the data that came out from that was really kind of encouraging. So, we know that 500 words does encourage literacy. So 84% of the teachers who submitted stories on behalf of students in the 2024-25 competition felt that their students were more engaged with literacy and writing as a result of taking part in the competition. And we just had one of these statements that I wanted to sort of read out from one of the teachers who was involved in that. And they said that, my students have really improved in their creative writing skills since they took part in this competition, especially the ones who are usually quiet in class. So this is an encouragement to me as a teacher to help them gain that confidence. So that was really, really encouraging to hear. Every story since 2014 that's been entered into the competition has been sent to our children's language partner, Oxford University Press. So they've collected almost 1 million stories, and that's over 500 million words. So why does that matter? Well, these stories actually help them to understand the language children are using, and it's also kind of how language is developing over time as well. And it helps them to work out what kids are interested in, from politics to world events to celebrities to football. It also informs the creation of their dictionaries and also learning resources more widely that are used for children. And the results from this report that they do are actually taught in seminars and lectures around the world. And it's also helping leading figures in education improve the way that English is taught in schools. So this is one of many reasons why it's important to really encourage kids to have a go, because their stories will ultimately change education in school. So the prizes, we've got some brilliant prizes on offer. So 50 brilliant finalists will be invited to a Star Pack Grand Final, which will be hosted by none other than Her Majesty the Queen herself. Each winner receives a bundle of books, with the gold winner also winning an incredible 500 books for their school library. Each of our winning stories also get a framed illustrated cover and a book as well, which is produced exclusively by top children's illustrators. And it's incredibly important to us that children of all abilities and backgrounds have fun writing their stories and take part in 500 words. So we are offering again this year, any school with 50% free school meals or higher that do submit entries will receive a £50 book token for their school. And also every story that is entered goes into a random draw. And from that random draw, they will win books, a ticket to the final, and also their school will receive 500 books, and a literacy wall art that will be installed in the school just to promote that love of storytelling. Our judges, so we've got a brilliant panel of celebrity judges. We have Sir Lenny Henry, Mallory Blackman, Francesca Simon, Charlie Hickson, and Frank Cottrell Boyce, who was appointed the kind of new Children's Laureate in 2024. So they do the sort of final stage judging. But our first round of judging is done by our brilliant volunteer judges. So I'll go on to sort of talk a little bit about the kind of how you can sign up to be a volunteer judge. So how can libraries support in the development of stories? So it's for us, it's all about how libraries can get involved and really spark that creativity through a love of reading and books, and really promote and encourage children to enter. So we have put together a digital resources pack, which we will be sharing after the webinar next week, which kind of gives you all the information you need in one place. So we've got some promo material in there, which includes some downloadable posters and flyers that you can print off, and also digital assets as well. So these are things that can be put up around the library, having them available just to pique people's interest and for children to know what the competition is. There's also some really brilliant activity sheets, which are also available on our website, but we've put them all together in this digital resources pack. And these are really great drop-in activities that can be offered within libraries. There's really fun activity sheets, there's lots of learning resources, there's downloadable reading and writing activities, and all of these have we've worked really closely in partnership with all our brilliant partners to produce these, and we're going to be updating them with some new ones this year as well. There's also special events that we feel that could be offered in your library. So you might want to think about any bespoke events that you could organize just to really help inspire children and also raise awareness about the competition. And also we know that the summer reading challenge is something that libraries will be promoting over summer, and I think there's a really nice alignment there, because 500 words can be used as inspiration, and also getting children to think about what that onward journey might be after the summer reading challenge. And also what's brilliant is that librarians can actually submit stories on behalf of children. So any children that might not have access to the internet, or their parent might struggle to submit an entry for them, we really are encouraging libraries to sort of really get involved and help in that sort of submission process as well. And I'm sure you'll have lots of brilliant ideas and creative ways that you can promote and engage children and that are going to be visiting the libraries over summer. So if you do have any ideas of things that you're going to be doing or any special events, then please do let us know. You can send an email to the 500 Words team, because we'd love to know kind of what libraries are going to be doing or any brilliant ideas that you have. And we can also, look at local radio or TV that might be in that area that might be interested in covering that in some way. So yeah, please do let us know any ideas or any ways or any activities that you're thinking of doing. So how to sign up to be a volunteer judge. So registration for volunteer judges is open. So you can sign up on the 500 Words website and you register your interest by filling out a form. And we really couldn't do the competition without, the thousands of volunteer judges that get involved in that first round of judging. And it really is this brilliant army of volunteer judges that, help in that first stage of the judging process. So to sign up to be a volunteer judge, obviously you can be a library member of staff, a teacher, a teaching assistant, or a SEND staff as well. And each volunteer judge will be entered into a random draw. So one lucky judge will be invited to attend that studied grand final in February next year. And I believe we've got someone here today that did win that random draw and got the opportunity to go to Buckingham Palace last year. So you will need to supply information for a referee when you fill out your sign up form. And this is someone that can validate that you're able to mark the work for 5 to 11-year-olds. So please let them know to expect an email from us once you've completed your application. So once that submission stage of the complete competition has closed, you will receive a batch of 10 randomly allocated and anonymized stories. You can request to mark more than 10 stories, but we ask for a minimum of 10 stories that volunteers should commit to reading. So you will have a month to read and mark them as a volunteer judge, and the volunteer judging round normally ends. So it'll start from around about Monday, the 10th of November, and it will finish around about that first week of December. So you'll have around about a month to do that. And there may be times where we don't have enough stories to allocate to a judge within a particular age category, because what we find is we often get oversubscribed for judges for that 5 to 7 age group. So if you are able to mark for the 8 to 11 year age group, please do register that when you sign up, to because that's normally where we get less people signing up to read. And it's 500 words, so the stories won't be longer than one side of A4, and we make sure our judges don't receive stories from their own local area, and the stories, as I mentioned before, will be judged on a criteria, and you get lots of information and guidance around marking those stories. If you do have any concerns when you read any of the stories about any kind of harmful content in a story, or the welfare of the child, or a story that you feel might have been plagiarized, then you can flag this on the volunteering judging portal. And we as the 500 Words team have a process in place for each story that is flagged. So if you feel you run out of time to mark stories, then that's also okay, because you can hand back stories on the portal, and we will redistribute those to other volunteer judges. So I think that's it from me. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the OUP report that was done last year and some of the findings that came out of that, but I'm just going to hand back to Sarah.
Thanks, Usman. That was great. And I'll just say, please do post any questions for Usman in the chat so that we can ask them at the end of the session. And just a couple of things from me, really. One of them is talking about the judging, and I'm sure the judges will agree that the website that you use to judge, the actual platform, is really straightforward, and it takes you through the process. So I found it's a real kind of privilege and a pleasure to judge those stories, because you can do things like compare stories, and so you're making sure that you're assessing like for like, and all sorts of things that you can comment and so on. So it's a really useful platform. Second thing is that it obviously next year, as sure you'll be aware by now, is the National Year of Reading. So I think this is a great opportunity for libraries to really galvanise their support for 500 Words, because reading generates writing and vice versa. It's a cyclical process. So the more we can encourage children to read and then to share their own stories, the better, really. So if there are any libraries who would be really interested in developing that bit that Usman was saying around perhaps helping children submit stories, we really want children to know that wherever they come from, wherever their background, we're not judging we're not judging them on their spelling, or it's about their creativity of the story and the language and the use. So do encourage them, and if you can find ways to really support children to upload their stories, that's great. Usman, you do need their parents' permission, don't you, still, to submit the story? So if a library staff do,
if you are submitting, then you would just need to say that you've gained the parents' permission. It's fine for you to sort of submit that on behalf.
Yeah. So thinking like, are there opportunities to have workshops in libraries with sort of story starters where children can either write their stories, or they can come afterwards. So brilliant. That would be really good. And if you do think about doing something like that, do let us know so we can kind of support that process. But we're going to hear from a couple of the judges, and I've seen in the chat we've got Jane and Rachel, who are also volunteer judges, so they might want to chip in as well, as well. well, but I just want to introduce you to, first of all, again, Lucy Banks, who was a volunteer judge this year, Erin Hamilton, who was also a volunteer judge this year as well, and where are we? And Sharon, who's a school librarian. So I really wanted, so we've got Lucy, Erin, and Sharon. I said brilliant. I'm just waiting till everyone's on the screen. That's wonderful. So I really wanted to ask all three of you really why you decided to be volunteer judges. What was it that drove you to volunteer in the first place? It's like Sharon.
Okay, thank you. I've been judging the award since the very first one, when it was first launched with the BBC with Chris Evans, and I just heard about it on the radio and thought it sounded fantastic. I've been working in public libraries and then school library for all that time, and the time when it was first released, it was something completely new and different, and it was great to have such a high profile national competition, and that's really the reason why I wanted to do the first one that I did. And then when I judged for the first one, I just enjoyed it so much that I've just signed up year on year because it's absolutely brilliant experience. As you said, Sarah, it's really easy to do, and it's really enjoyable just to see what the students are writing about.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. What about you, Erin?
Similar. I don't think I've done it for as long, and I think I took a break at one point, but someone had forwarded me the email when I became a primary school librarian, and I just thought, oh, that's interesting. And because in a library, you're always trying to promote reading and then writing for pleasure, and just trying to show them that actually you can be an author, you can write your own story, and the pressure is off with the grammar and the spelling and the punctuation, which for some students, it's a real barrier. And I think that was what tipped me to be, oh, I quite like the idea of this. And so, similar to Sharon, I signed up, really enjoyed it. And I kept clicking for 1 year. I think I kept clicking, oh, I can do some more. I can do some more. And then I realized probably taking a lot of stories here, but they're short. They're 500 words, some of them not even 500 words. And it's just really enjoyable to see what's being said by the children, like Usman said with Oxford University Press, like looking at the language. It's really interesting to see what trends children are sort of writing and reading about.
Yeah, thank you. And how about you, Lucy?
Do you know, I think it was you, Sarah, who put me onto it last year. So I'm a newbie judge, everyone. I've only been doing it for the 1 year, but I very much hope to do it again. And I think my reasons for doing it were both personal and professional, I think. So on a personal level, I'm just really passionate about getting children into writing. I'm a writer myself. I loved it back as a child. So, you know, there's something around that, I think, of just thinking it's brilliant to encourage children to do this at a really early age. And professionally as well, there was something so valuable about having that insight into what's interesting children at the moment. You could really, even with the relatively short batch that I was given of 10 stories, you can see the themes coming out. And I think as well, when we received the report afterwards from Oxford University Press, have I got that right, Usman? You know, it was just fascinating to see that broader sort of national insight as well into the trends over the years of what children are into and what's maybe sort of tailed off a bit. So yeah, really valuable experience.
Thank you. Do any of you have any standout stories that you can share with us? Any that you really remembered?
It's really hard.
Yeah,
it's funny, isn't it?
Distance from it.
I got asked that on the radio last year, and I drew a complete, not a blank exactly, but all of the stories have such fantastic elements. As Lucy said, you see such strong themes from year to year. I haven't been lucky enough to have one of the stories that I've judged sort of go into the top band of stories every year, but they're so good that it's really hard to pick out one favourite. But I always really love the ones which they seem to manage to cram in 2 or 3 worlds and sort of spinning between them into one 500-word story, and they're absolutely frenetically fast-paced. And I think that's brilliant because it shows that child hasn't limited their imagination because of that 500-word limit. They've just thought, no, I'm going to have a go at this and do as much as I want to do, and I'm still going to be able to cram it all in, and it'll be great fun, because I always feel the fun and the action in those types of stories.
Yeah, I agree. I'm thinking of some of the. I mean, I think there are some really powerful stories, some very, children write some very emotional stories, don't they? Because sometimes quite dark stories. And I think that's one of the things that struck me particularly. Last year there were some very dark stories, but on the reverse of that, some really funny stories. And it's always struck me that when you read children's stories, they're so good at writing really clever plot twists at the end, or having a really good ending. And I think that's a real talent, isn't it? And sometimes, even as an adult, you read a book and you think it's brilliant, and then the ending is a bit of a damp squib. But children seem to be able to really write brilliant endings. And certainly, if you listen to the stories that have been, are they still on the website from last year, Esmond, with the winning stories?
Yes, they are. Yeah, you can. You can see the gold and the silver winners and their illustrations as well that they got. So they're all on the website if anyone wants to have a look.
Yeah. And I think that really struck me that there are some really brilliant stories, and I definitely have my favourites from the winners last year, but I won't tell you what they are, and you can listen to them yourselves and choose your own favourites. But are there things that you get out of doing it that you transfer into your kind of professional practice, or have there been, Sharon, in the past for you?
Definitely about creating that buzz for the love of writing and reading for pleasure. One of the first years I made a display and actually put it in the middle of a corridor in school, rather than putting it in the English department or in the library. And it had so many kids sort of standing around it, looking at the different words and the graphics and things. Are you going to have a go at that? Yeah, I'm going to have a go. Oh, the prizes are really good. And, all the sort of chat around it. And it really just made me think it's something to just spark the students' imagination, but then to get them talking is really key. We're quite, I'd always, up until that point, I think, been quite sort of thinking everything had got to be led by me, and that the students wouldn't necessarily come to it by themselves and through their friends. And that was a real light bulb moment for me to think, if I can get them, one or two of them just looking at it and then talking, they'll go along the corridors and they'll sort of spread the word by themselves. And I think that's the year that I had the most entries, because the students did all the work, which is brilliant. And I hope on to sort of embrace that and try and create those like buzz moments around the school around reading and writing for pleasure, with a little bit of just a hint of what might be to come in a project and that kind of thing, rather than giving it all away at the very beginning and feeling like you've got to do all the promotional work yourself.
No, that's really good. And there's nothing like peer-to-peer recommendation, is there, for making things happen, I think. And Erin, how about you? Have you done any work in Suffolk Libraries around this? Or would you think of doing some?
Yeah, it's when we chatted ahead of the webinar beginning, it sort of just struck me that actually we're ideally placed. We've got 45 libraries, we've got our 3 mobile buses. Why am I not doing more to promote this? And so I think I may have a conversation with a few people afterwards, just to say, actually, could we get on board as a library authority and just look at promoting this and look at doing some sort of creative writing within public libraries, maybe small scale at first in a few libraries, just so I can monitor it. But then actually it's good to know that librarians can upload. So I think at the very smallest measure, I can email all of my managers and say, actually, if you get asked to upload a story, here are the steps, here's how easy it is, please don't turn people away. But I think we'll try to do a little bit more in-depth stuff sort of this summer and into the autumn, just to see what we can do. It sounds really exciting. I think there's a lot of scope for libraries, public libraries, to do some good promotion around this, around the love of reading that then will inspire that love of writing.
Yeah, that would be great. I think more than we can get doing that. Jane Coleman, if you're there, do you want to talk about being a volunteer judge as well? If you feel like you want to unmute. Maybe not. And Rachel too. Rachel, how long have you been being a judge?
I've done it on and off for a few years now. I did used to work in a secondary school as librarian, and now work for Leicestershire Libraries. Yeah, and I just found it's really nice to see the kids and their writing. And I know some kids locally who were like, oh yeah, I'm going to do it. And I think it's, as we've sort of discussed, it builds up that buzz about writing and reading. But I will definitely be going back to my team with Leicestershire Libraries again, I think, like Erin, to see what we can do, even if it is just promoting either on social media or within our libraries with posters and things like that.
Yeah, brilliant, thank you. I think one of the things that really strikes me about it is, telling children they're writers. They've written a story, they're writers. Often children don't think they're readers or writers, do they? Unless they're kind of, doing something brilliant. But actually, you've written a 500 word.
Sarah, you've just gone on mute.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
You can. Oh yeah, I think it's just dropped off there for a minute, but sorry about that. But yeah, just giving children the confidence in themselves as writers, I think, is really, really important. So I just wanted to ask you one last question. I think, Sharon, you've answered it really, is about how you promoted the 500 words in school. But I think you've talked about that and the power of that peer-to-peer recommendation that you use. Is there anything any of the three of you want to say about it before we move on?
Yeah, sorry, Sharon, I've barged in there.
Go on,
you go first, go on.
Just to say that I was saying to Usman beforehand about how brilliant it is to have all those digital resources that are ready to go for us, and they've got the BBC branding on. They aren't, oh look, there's some posters that Miss Corbely's made. And that helps the students realise right from the word go that this is something that's a national thing that loads of kids across the country are going to be getting involved in. Even if when they don't know what the prizes are, they think there might be a chance that they could be on the radio or on the TV. So that because they see the BBC logo, that's a really good draw, and they know the kinds of people that get involved in judging BBC competitions. So they've all seen, things on Blue Peter and stuff like that about who might be involved, and that's a really exciting thing as well. It's nice to have that high quality graphic resource to draw on to promote it. And that makes our lives a lot easier as well. And one thing that works really well for me, which something that I did completely incidentally, is I've displayed my judges certificate on a little notice board behind my desk. And that started loads of conversations about, well, how do you do that, miss? And how did you get involved with that? And do you have to read loads of stories? Are they any good? And, all those sorts of things, which, like I say, it's something I just did. I put it up with my a couple of cards and things that I've got there, and didn't even really think about it. But it was a great little touch that people might think about doing once they've done judging this year to promote it again for next year.
I love that idea. I think, why don't we celebrate the fact that all these librarians, school librarians, public librarians are judges? Let's make a thing of that this year and make sure we celebrate that and highlight it in local authorities. I think that's a really good idea. Thank you, Sharon. And Lucy, sorry, we come to you.
Well, I was just going to add, for ASCL and our members, it's been a real focus is looking at working with children and young people, listening to what they're telling us, listening to what they're feeling about our libraries and about the world around them. And I would just say this is a good place to start. It's great insight, those stories. So yeah, for those of you that are interested in sort of working more co-creatively with children and young people of all ages, it all starts with listening, really. And what better way to listen to children and young people than through the stories they tell?
Fabulous thought, Lucy. Thank you. Erin, anything from you before we?
Sort of agreeing with what Sharon said. So like with the digital resource pack, the idea that it's not branded with our logos and our words, it sort of stands out in amongst the crowd. And you can imagine in public libraries, I'm preaching to the converted here, they're covered in posters of events happening and ideas and places to go and things to do. And actually it's nice to highlight something national that is open for all, and there's no accessibility issues, so any child can do it. And I think for a public library where we're non-judgmental, we're open, we're welcoming to everybody, it's really lovely to be able to promote something that doesn't exclude anybody.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. Thanks, Erin. Thanks, Sharon. Thanks, Lucy, for your reflections, and thanks to the other judges on the call as well. And let's build that collaboration with the BBC and judges. So thank you. And I'm going to just hand back to Usman now, who's going to just talk a little bit about that OUP research that Lucy was mentioning there.
Thanks, Sarah. I'm just going to share my screen again. I just need to scroll to the end of my presentation. So yeah, here we are. So as I mentioned earlier, one of our official partners is Oxford University Press, and they compiled a children's language report, and they've done that since 2014. So this includes the words and the themes that are used in the stories in the competition each year. So that data is actually incorporated into the Oxford Children's Corpus, which is a large database of children's written language in English. The report reveals unique insight into the thoughts of children aged 5 to 11 across the UK. And the competition, we received last year, we received almost 44,000 submissions. So each one was read and studied. And so what are children actually writing about? So no surprise, pop star Taylor Swift was one of the most featured celebrity in the children's stories for the competition last year. And actually, Her Majesty the Queen and the King, they also were featured quite regularly as well in the stories. Other celebrities that came up were footballers. So we had, Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi, and both those footballers actually have appeared in the children's top list of famous celebrities since about a decade ago, and also last year as well. Again, so they seem to, constantly be are being referred to. And also social media is really influencing children's vocabulary. And we found that sort of trend each year. So as part of the report last year, this was very much fueled by the viral TikTok trend of the South American giant rodent capybara. So we had an increase of 11% of mentions of this. So that just kind of shows the power of social media and how it kind of really influences, some of the themes and language as well. And also a new term was revealed, which was Fanum tax, which means stealing food between friends. And this term had been inspired by the content creator Fanum, who would jokingly steal food from his friends during his live streams. So that was really interesting. And also the usage of Facebook, FaceTime, WhatsApp, X, Snapchat, and Spotify. They've all appeared in stories more frequently than they did in 2023. Also, interestingly, some things have kind of remained the same. So Cinderella is the only fairy tale character that appeared in both 2014 and 2024 report. And the list of the top 10 characters alongside Harry Potter, Superman and Batman as well. And gaming is still obviously a really popular trend in the stories. So Minecraft was the #1 game written about both a decade ago and today as well. So they were just some of the highlights that came out of that OUP report. And it'll be interesting to see what comes out this year and if there's any similar themes or any new themes emerging.
Thanks, Usman. And you can get the report if you want to read it is it on the 500 Words website, Usman?
Yeah, that's right. It's available on the website to read if you want to read it in full. Yeah.
It is quite fascinating, so thank you for that. So I'm going to hand over to Lucy now, who's just going to take through any questions and answers. So if you've got any Q&As, then do put them in the chat, and Lucy is going to field them and ask them of Usman. So
Yeah, let's start with the chat, because I can see we've got one in there. So this is from Sharon, who has asked, are there plans to extend the competition back out to secondary age students for the year of reading? Secondary school staff would love to see this, as it supports us in addressing the drop-off in reading and writing for pleasure from year 7 onwards.
Yeah, well, I mean, it'd be amazing if we could, offer it back out to secondary schools. I suppose this will be kind of a decision that's kind of above me. And also, I think a lot of it is to do with time, resource, and budget, unfortunately, because extending it out to secondary school would mean a larger number of entries, which just kind of has a knock-on effect on everything in terms of more time, more resource. So yeah, I think it's definitely something that we will think about and consider, but yeah, TBC.
Yeah, there's definitely an appetite for it. I think I mentioned to you before that I belong to a couple of groups of secondary school. I'm a secondary school librarian myself now, and I've sort of joined it when I worked in public libraries, and it was open and up to that 14-year-old age group, and we were quite disappointed when it was scaled back. And there are loads of librarians I know, and I'm sure lots of secondary teachers out there who would, even if it was only for the 1 year, for the year of reading, would absolutely love to see it back for all the brilliant reasons that we've mentioned, and because it has such a high profile. It's great for us to get involved. Although there are lots of little competitions out there for our age group of writers, it's great for us to be able to get involved in something that's so nationally recognised and celebrated.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it is something we'd love to do, and it's definitely something we will consider. But as I said, a lot of this is to do with things that are kind of out of our control as well. So, but we should, it's definitely something we should revisit.
Thank you, Esmond and Sharon. I can't see any further questions in the chat, so I'm just looking to see if anyone has got their hand raised. Do please feel free to raise your hands if you have a question. No, I'm having to scroll through here, so please do feel free to just shout out loud while I'm scrolling. So it looks like we don't have any further questions. Just really quickly, Esmond, where can that report be found again on the website? Because it's so sort of insightful.
Yeah, so if you just go to our website, there's on the 500 words page, there's the Oxford University Press report. You should be able to see it on one of our there's a promo about it. So if you click on that, it'll kind of bring up the report and the kind of main headlines that I've kind of gone through today, if you want the more succinct version. But the actual full version is kind of available for download as well.
Fabulous. Thank you. I definitely recommend that as a read, everyone, because honestly it's just fascinating and really tells you a lot about what children are interested in these days. Any last questions at all?
And just to mention, if anyone thinks of a question later on, you can email us. There's our email address is just bbc500words@bbc.co.uk. So yeah, if you've got any questions, 500words@bbc.co.uk. If you've got any questions, we'd be more than happy to answer anything at a later date.
That's really helpful, thank you. And just to confirm, Esmond, can people sign up as judges now, or is there a window where it opens?
Yeah, judging is now kind of open. So yes, please do sign up and encourage others to as well.
Amazing. Oh, well, so on behalf, I think Sarah Mears has now had to leave. I think she had another emergency meeting to go to, but just on behalf of Sarah and everyone else here, thank you so much, Esmond, for sharing that. It was brilliant to see that presentation, and thank you to Erin and Sharon as well for sharing your experiences. I feel we should say an honorary thank you to Rachel and Jane as well, who weren't aware they were going to be called on today to share their experiences, but thank you for doing so. Also, just to say, the recording will be circulated after, and am I right in thinking there'll be some digital resources circulated after as well, Esmond?
Yeah, so the digital resources I spoke about, we've got like a PDF that you can just download, and it's got everything for you in one place, like all the digital assets, the activity sheets, posters, everything. So yeah, we will send that on to Sarah, and then you can who can circulate it along with the recording of the webinar.
That's lovely. Thank you. Well, all that remains is for me to urge you all, do get involved, be a judge, or promote it in your libraries, signpost people to it, because it's such a great competition. Thank you everyone for coming today. Lovely to see you all. And yes, goodbye.
Thanks so much, Lucy.
No, thank you, Esmond. It was lovely to hear about it. And you've reminded me and prompted me to sign up again this year.